Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a massive, deeply complex list of historical facts and transforming it into a high-speed, active recall study guide. So if you're a focused learner trying to piece together the exact sequence of events that led to the creation of Pakistan, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to distill decades of history, pulling directly from our source materials, into clear, actionable insights. Go ahead and grab your mental flashcards because we are diving right in.
Let's kick things off with a fundamental question straight from our sources. What is deeply ingrained in the social consciousness of a people? Think about it for a second. Is it their economy? Their politics? Geography? Nope. The answer, according to historical texts, is ideology. Ideology is that core guidance system. It's what gives order and meaning to life and human action. And as we're going to see, it was this exact ideological bedrock that fueled the entire movement we're studying today. Our study guide agenda today is broken down into 5 eras: ideology and early awakening, Sir Said's educational revolution, major political milestones, the road to independence, and finally, survival of the new state. Let's start with Section 1, Ideology and Early Awakening, the Roots of a Nation. For over 1,000 years, Hindus and Muslims lived together in the subcontinent without ever fully absorbing each other's cultures. It's pretty remarkable. But you have to ask, why did Muslims eventually shift their demand from just wanting separate representation to demanding a completely separate state? Well, it's because they realized their distinct social order would be completely erased in a democratic system dominated by a massive Hindu majority. They weren't just a minority, they were an entirely separate nation altogether. Naturally, this created a massive political divide. On one hand, you had the Indian National Congress pushing for a unitary system, meaning deeply centralized power, and they often leaned on widespread agitation to get there. Conversely, you had the All India Muslim League, led by figures like Quaid-e-Azam M.A. Jinnah. They focused strictly on constitutional safeguards and separate electorates, meaning you only vote for candidates from your own community. Eventually, they realized a completely sovereign state was the only real path forward. Moving right along to Section 2, Sir Said's educational revolution, the Aligarh movement. After the devastating 1857 War of Independence, Muslims were largely treated as the primary enemies of the British, and they faced some disastrous consequences. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan lived through this trauma, and he realized a profound truth. The British won because of superior industrial and scientific development. That was it. So, to save Muslims from becoming third-class citizens, he basically spearheaded an educational revolution. Keep these highly testable milestones in mind, especially his crowning achievement, establishing the MAO College at Aligarh in 1875. His whole strategy? Pure pragmatism. He urged Muslims to acquire a modern Western education, learn English, and secure government jobs. But crucially, his biggest piece of advice was to completely abstain from agitational politics. When the Indian National Congress was founded in 1885, he explicitly warned Muslims to stay away from it. The goal was to maintain a separate political identity until they were intellectually and organizationally ready to compete. Let's hit Section 3, Major Political Milestones, Dates to Remember. Okay, get those mental flashcards ready again, because these dates are absolutely essential. Talk about intense emotional whiplash in just over a decade. In 1905, Muslims actually welcomed the partition of Bengal because it created a Muslim-majority province. In 1906, they founded the All India Muslim League to protect their rights. But then, following violent protests by Hindus, the British totally annulled that partition in 1911, just stripped it away. However, by 1916, they caught a major break with the Lucknow Pact, where Congress actually accepted the right to separate electorates. Time for another quick active recall check, pulled directly from our historical sources. Why did M.A. Jinnah, who had been a member since 1906, suddenly resign from the Indian National Congress in 1920? Well, Jinnah was a man of the law. He believed in constitutional process, and he fiercely disagreed with Mahatma Gandhi's use of extra-constitutional, agitational politics, like the non-cooperation movement. It just wasn't his way. All this political friction just compounded into the 1930s. It was an era of deadlocks. The 3 roundtable conferences in London, complete failure to settle communal issues. That failure led the British to impose the Government of India Act of 1935, introducing provincial autonomy. But the real wake-up call, the absolute turning point, was the period of Congress ministries from 1937 to 1939. Our sources detail this as a time of heavily exclusionary anti-Muslim policies that practically forced the Muslim masses to completely reevaluate their future in India. Which brings us to Section 4, the road to independence, defining the goal. That incredibly traumatic experience under Congress rule actually did something remarkable. It united the masses. It provided an intellectual spark. In 1933, a Cambridge student named Chaudhry Rahmat Ali published a pamphlet titled Now or Never. Older politicians initially brushed it off as just a student's fantasy, but this was the document that officially coined the word Pakistan, representing Punjab, Afghania, Kashmir, Sindh, and Balochistan. What started as just a university pamphlet became the ultimate destiny for millions of people. By March 1940, at Minto Park in Lahore, everything changed. The two-nation theory went from being an abstract philosophy to a hard-line, non-negotiable political goal. The Lahore Resolution, moved by Maulvi Fazlul Huq, officially demanded that regions in the northwest and east, where Muslims held the majority, be constituted as independent, sovereign states. The Hindu press actually called it the Pakistan Resolution as a way to mock it, but the Muslims loved it and proudly adopted the name. The 1940s were just a flurry of British missions, desperately trying to solve the constitutional deadlock before they left India. Notice the pattern here for your study guide. The Muslim League consistently held out. They rejected the Cripps mission in 42 because it totally ignored the demand for Pakistan. They liked the cabinet mission plan in 46 for a minute, but backed out when Congress threatened to change the rules. Finally, the 3rd June Plan in 1947 officially guaranteed the partition, giving way to the Indian Independence Act just weeks later.
And finally, Section 5, Survival of the New State, Infancy Under Siege.
Achieving independence on August 14, 1947, was an unbelievable victory. But as our sources heavily emphasize, it was literally just the beginning of a nightmare. Look at that staggering number, 6 to 7 million. That represents the penniless refugees who poured across the newly drawn borders into Pakistan. They were fleeing severe communal riots, creating the absolute largest and most chaotic human migration crisis in recorded history. It placed a completely crushing burden on an administration that had literally been born days prior.
And the physical reality of partition, it seemed practically designed to be crippling. On paper, Pakistan was supposed to receive 36% of the military stores, but historical texts show India largely withheld this share. The equipment that actually made it across the border was mostly broken, damaged, or entirely unserviceable. It was effectively a way to cripple Pakistan's defense capabilities from day one.
Honestly, it was a coordinated strangulation across every sector. Administratively, out of 40 British ordnance factories, Pakistan got 0. Civil servants in the new capital of Karachi were working under the open sky without even basic office furniture. Financially, India initially withheld hundreds of millions of rupees in agreed cash balances. Infrastructure, vital canal water supplies feeding Pakistan's agricultural heartland were suddenly cut off in April 1948. And territorially, the highly controversial Radcliffe Award manipulated borders, literally handing Muslim-majority areas to India just to give them a land route into Kashmir. So here is the ultimate question to leave you with. How did a state with nearly 0 resources, facing the greatest refugee crisis in human history, and surrounded by completely hostile administrative and territorial actions, actually managed to survive its infancy? As we wrap up this explainer, the historical consensus is clear. The survival of Pakistan was not due to financial wealth or massive military might. It was a pure testament to unflinching ideological determination and the unmatched sacrifices of its people. It proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that a united nation fueled by a clear ideology can overcome absolutely impossible odds.